everyone, and welcome back to the Check Engine Light Podcast, episode number 3. We got to start off with a bit of a celebration. Technically, we've been doing this for a full month now, going over the automotive news, the recalls, the class action lawsuits, and I am having the time of my life here. It has been really fun, and also it's allowed me to talk about the industry itself, talk about what's going on behind the scenes, the used car supply, the new car supply, and in fact, some people did not like me talking about that. Some people didn't believe that this was happening. However, over the last week, I've had people commenting on my videos on older reviews, but then also I have my friends telling me, Mike, I'm getting the best trade-in offers I've ever seen. Mike, my car's resale values are skyrocketing. What is happening? And in fact, coincidentally, a good friend of mine asked, when are we going to see the car market implode? And I had to unfortunately tell him, it's not going to happen. Not the way things are at right now, especially on the used car side, with day supply being so low and demand being very high for cars coming in below $50,000 on the new side. Now, if some people don't want to hear that, if they don't want to believe it, or they just don't want to hear the doom posting, then you're going to be blindsided when we get into April, May, and June. And that's just the facts. And that's what I get into, the facts. But also talking about, and I barely got into it, was the geopolitical side of what's going on in the Middle East. But you got to remember, 6 years ago, in that same region, when the Suez Canal closed, you had part shortages getting even worse. You had car shortages getting even worse. So because the automotive industry is a global market, part of the global economy, whatever happens in any country around the world could affect what you see at your local dealerships. And we just got to go over it. We can't hide from it. We can't run from it. And I don't want to run from it. So what I'm going to be doing is probably once a month, we are going to go over the industry itself, what's happening in terms of used and new car supply. Because I look at the numbers and I just say, we're razor thin right now, especially on the used car side with affordable cars and with demand being so high. And I really didn't take a look at the charts when I was posting them on the video. But if you take a look at the used car volumes, the sales volumes, it is very high for February, and I can only imagine March is even higher than that. And we're actually running about a couple weeks ahead of schedule. Usually you get the spring buying season in April, May, June, and you see that increase, that sales increase, but it's already happening in February. So people are looking at buying cars right now, whether new or used, and that could have major implications for used car and new car pricing. And in fact, I think right now we are in a seller's market. If you're looking to sell a car but not necessarily buy one, you're probably going to get top dollar for it heading into April and May. On the new car side, incentives are phenomenal. Like, I'm getting pieces in the mail from dealerships, like the last few dealerships I've bought cars from, and a Subaru Forester is going for like $200 lease. Like a lease offer of $200 or below that. I have not seen that in years. I think there was a Kia Sportage for under $250 a month. So incentives are aggressive, lease offers are aggressive, and all you really need to do is just look for them, because I think you're going to find a great deal right now. Again, that's not advice, but rather an opinion. And right now, it seems like it's very strong for the new car side to go out and buy one. So just keep all of that in mind. Also, we got to talk about the fact that we're entering second quarter. And we do have some news on that, more specifically for the channel, because Boston Autoblog has taken a completely different path this year compared to where we were in 25, 24 in the prior years. Yes, I've always done car reviews, but now I'm doing the podcast going over the automotive industry, talking about what's happening with the Volkswagen Tiguan and stuff. And it's been fun. I really enjoyed this. And because of all of this, and I had already planned this heading into 2026 to begin with, I am looking at adding another car to the fleet in second quarter. It's probably going to be a fun car. I just don't know what that car is going to be yet. So stay tuned on that one. And I'll likely have a separate video going up on the end of first quarter and how things are shaping up with Boston Autoblog, because the last few reviews I've done have mostly centered around a specific market and tailored to a specific type of buyer. Usually I'm all over the place, but it's been Subaru Outback, it's been Audi Q3, and also I'm giving this one away, the Mazda CX-5. I filmed 3 different trims for the CX-5 recently, the Premium Plus, Premium, and the Select. I'm going to be returning to my Mazda dealership for a preferred trim, because I think the preferred is going to be the ideal choice. That is the great value proposition. That will likely be the top seller for all the trims for 2026. I'm going to say this right now, though, with the CX-5. I think it's going to be one of the best-selling vehicles in its class. I think for Mazda specifically, they're going to break records for the CX-5 nameplate when it comes to sales and sales volume. However, because Mazda went mainstream with this crossover, Mazda loyalists are not going to like it. And we'll talk about that during the review, because I think people have this expectation with the CX-5 about the build quality, about the driving dynamics. And maybe, just maybe, Mazda sold their soul to become mainstream, to take on Honda and Toyota, but at the expense of what made them so special in the market. Also, I am going to have a video coming up very soon on the Volkswagen Tiguan again, because, for one, we're entering April, so a software update should be making its way to that trim, to that model coming very soon. But also, we're entering 3 months and 3,000 miles of ownership. Even though I'm on my second one, and 2 months in, I've done over 3,000 miles together with this vehicle, and it's all the same. And I want to go over whether I still like the vehicle so far, and if I am going to keep it till the end of the year, which right now, things are looking pretty good on that front. But now let's get into the news here. It's actually been a light week. Not a lot of news at all. I mean, outside of the new BMW i3, which people don't like, they can't stand the design. In fact, I think with some renderings, and with just a slight update, it could look like a modern E30. But I don't think BMW wants to do that. Even the designer was like, I had 30 years to prepare for this. Well, you could have prepared a better looking car, in my opinion. I mean, it does look a bit out there, and I have no idea why they decided to make it look exactly, at least for the rear fascia, like the 5 Series and the 7 Series. That's just making a bad decision. Although, from the photos I have seen with the wagon, I like the wagon. I think the wagon looks really nice, really sleek. In some ways, though, it kind of looks like a Mitsubishi Galant wagon, or I might be way wrong on that. It just looks like an old JDM wagon, which maybe isn't a bad thing, but I would like to see that make its way to the US, and not in like M340 form or M3 form. I want that to be like at 330i level, and I don't know if BMW is going to do that, but hopefully they listen when it comes to that. Also building off of last week's news with Honda moving on from their EV plans, cutting the Prologue from production. They're also ending their partnership with Sony for their future EV products. So it seems as though that Honda is going to be focusing primarily on hybrid models, and actually they are the most efficient brand, believe it or not, when it comes to their entire lineup. So their hybrids are great vehicles, they're competitive with Toyota, that would be a smart decision, and they also feel that the profit margins are higher as well, whereas EVs are a bit expensive to produce. So it makes sense as to why brands are starting to rethink their plans heading into 2030. Getting back into Porsche, we actually have some news here on the Macan, the next generation Macan. And there's so much controversy surrounding this crossover, and it's been like this for probably 8 to 9 months. Because there were rumors that it was going to be built on the PPC platform, which seems to be accurate now. That seems to be a fact that Porsche and Audi are co-developing this platform for the new Porsche Macan. And even for Porsche, they have spent $1.1 billion for licensing fees, so that way they can engineer it the way they want to. But what I fully don't understand here is why people are so concerned, necessarily. Because the first generation Macan was built on the MLB Evo platform, which underpinned the B9.5 Audi Q5, underpinned the Porsche Cayenne, underpinned the Bentley Bentayga. A lot of vehicles were built on this platform. And there was no issues there. Porsche retuned that suspension, they retuned that all-wheel drive system the way they wanted it. So I'm actually not concerned here. I'm not worried about what Porsche is going to do with the second generation Macan, although I really don't like the PPC platform. I think it's a step backwards, it doesn't feel right for the vehicle, and outside of the SQ5, I have not really come across an Audi product that feels not only refined, but also has that driving nature, that driving characteristic that its predecessor had. Now, thanks to Autoblog, which we are not associated with, they have an article here as to what to expect with the Porsche Macan and also where things are going right now. So the brand's former CEO had announced that the all-new gasoline-powered Porsche Macan would be launched by 2028. That seems to be still on the table here, although I have heard near the end of the decade. So it might not be one of these situations where it's a 28 model coming in at the end of 2027. This could actually be, end of 2028. Following this, the automaker also said that the last current generation gasoline Macan will be built in mid-2026, leaving the EV Macan to carry the nameplate until 2028. It was recently reported that the next generation Macan under development will be heavily based on the all-new Audi Q5 platform. There are already photos of the new test car out and about. Audi's all-new Q5 rides on the premium platform combustion architecture, which is a revised version of the PPE platform underpinning the e-tron lineup. So it is somewhat of an electric platform for an internal combustion engine, which, like I said before, hasn't really worked out. You can just feel it with the body weight, the way in which the body weight is distributed, especially for the Q5. You feel it. It just doesn't have that true Audi nature or anything like the B9.5. During an earnings call, Porsche executives discussed whether there was a way to accelerate the development and production of the all-new Macan, considering the existence of the PPC platform. Current Porsche CEO Michael Leiters was quick to point out that while they will leverage commonalities between Audi and Porsche, they are keen to ensure the Macan is a real Porsche, according to Automotive News. And in fact, Porsche is so insistent on this, they have invested heavily into this platform to make it their own. Thus, all the ingredients needed to achieve Porsche's goal will take time to properly develop and flesh out. Recently, Porsche paid $1.15 billion in license fees to Audi, enabling them to work together on certain models by sharing vital components. Leiter says that it isn't limited to the Macan project, but covers multiple future models, and that will likely include the new Porsche three-row SUV that will slot above the Cayenne, that will be built on the PPC platform, most likely. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a new Boxster and Cayman built on this platform as well, or an iteration of this platform to make the lineup whole once again. But for a very short period of time, all you're really going to have for internal combustion engines will be the 911, the Cayenne, and the Panamera. So no Macan. That is very rough for Porsche, with that being the best seller. So if you're looking at buying one right now, brand new, do so within the next few months, because it sounds like by July, they're done. And think about it, this generation has been around for a very long time. I remember, I think it was the Boston Auto Show in 2014 when I first saw it. So it has been, 12 years with 3 different updates? So it is getting up there in age, although I still think it's the best compact crossover or luxury compact crossover in its class. There's no one else coming close to what that vehicle is offering. And for those of you who have been waiting, we do have a class action lawsuit. That is right. So we haven't gone a full week without a major issue in the automotive industry, and this is for the Mazda CX-90. Now, this isn't the first time the CX-90 has faced a class action lawsuit, and this covers the 2024 to 2026 model years, where there's persistent brake failures with them squeaking and wearing out early, and also lane keep assist issues, which I think is probably more of an issue right now. And I want to dive into that more specifically because there is an investigation from the NHTSA. So we have this class action lawsuit, which a lot of you can just read up on it, but it's more along the lines of lane keep assist that has me focusing on this more importantly, more intently. So once again, from Autoblog, this is part of their article. Alongside the braking concerns, the lawsuit places significant focus on the CX-90's lane keep assist systems. The complaint alleges that the system can deliver overly forceful steering inputs that conflict with the driver's intended direction, rather than subtly guiding the vehicle within its lane. In fact, 43,000 Mazda CX-90s are reportedly under investigation following a prior steering-related recall, with the fix itself linked to 2 crashes. Some owners have stated that the corrective measures did not fully resolve the issue, prompting the NHTSA to step in. In Bernal's case, the system is said to remain active at inappropriate times. As with the braking complaints, dealerships were unable to diagnose the concern, leaving the issue unresolved despite repeated visits. Maybe at some point there will be a recall for that, considering there have been complaints over the last 2 model years. So keep an eye out for that one, but I'm really focused on this lane keep assist issue because if there's already investigations going on, most likely there will be another recall for that sometime down the road. It's really a sin because I love the CX-90, I love the CX-70. In my opinion, and people didn't like me saying this when I made that video a couple of years ago, it is the poor man's BMW X5. It really is. And even though people don't like me saying that, you can buy one for under $50,000. That's below the new car average price. So it's still within the price of margins, that price of reason, where you could buy it and have an affordable upscale daily driver here with the CX-70 and CX-90. I hope they resolve that because I love those two vehicles. And then the last piece of news here for the day, I know this is kind of a short podcast episode. I want to go over the wholesale prices according to Cox Automotive because this will tie everything together so far for this month and where we're looking into April and May on the wholesale side, because the wholesale prices do indicate what used car prices or retail prices are going to be doing in the near future. These tend to run about a couple weeks ahead of schedule, so just keep all of this in mind. Even though this is based off of February insights, this will likely affect what you see in March and obviously April as well. And there's just a few things that really stand out to me. So from their article in February, the wholesale market carried its January momentum into February, with year-over-year price growth accelerating to 2.9%, even as the seasonally adjusted index edged lower, a pattern consistent with spring selling season getting an early start. So again, we saw that on the used car side where sales increased precipitously in February, and on the wholesale side, it's above where it usually is on average. Tax refund season is now in full swing, and the early data is encouraging. The average refund is up roughly 11% from this time last year, and the share of returns receiving a refund is up 2 percentage points. In the lanes, we're already seeing that demand translate. Sales conversion climbed to 62.5% in the first half of February, up nearly 3 points year over year, and 2.4 points from January. Dealers came into the month stocking up ahead of what many expect to be a strong spring. So again, we're way ahead of that heading into March and obviously April. And the luxury segment continues to lead. We're also seeing EV values firm up after some post-incentive softness earlier in the year. Wholesale supply has ticked up slightly to 28 days, but with conversion rates running this strong, that inventory is being absorbed. With lower auto loan rates giving more consumers the confidence to act and a potentially prolonged tax refund tailwind, wholesale values should find sustained support throughout the spring season. And they even have a nice chart here for us to see. So it's up 2.9%. Compact cars are down a fraction of a percent. Mid-size cars up 0.5%. Luxury is up big time at 2.4%. And you're taking a look at what's happening in the luxury markets on the new car side. Day supply is well above 100 days, and that could really incentivize people to buy it because you're going to see those manufacturer and dealer incentives become very aggressive with BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi. So keep all of that in mind, and I think some of that is also translating to the used car side as well. The rest of the board here, you have pickups and SUVs up very small, and then EVs at 1.7%. I would not be surprised if we see that go even higher in March and April, especially with gas prices being so high. In fact, EVs could be in demand on the used car side, so that will be something to keep in mind here and to focus on moving forward. Then non-EVs up 2.5%, but the auto industry is very strong right now. Like, this is the strongest it has been in a while, especially this early into the season. And that's why I really want to focus on this, because what happens on the new car and used car side definitely affects this channel. And what I remember back in 22, 23, if I had to go through that again, I probably will be done with car reviews. That is just one thing I'm going to throw out there, because dealing with all of that, I'm too old for it. I don't want to deal with cars selling beneath me while I'm filming them, getting a phone call or a text from my contact saying you got to bring the car back, got to show the... I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that in 2027, 2028. So I'm hoping that the car supply stays strong, the used car supply is meeting demand, and right now it looks that way. But there are ingredients out there that could affect all of that heading into second quarter. So that is something I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, and also we'll be talking about in April. But guys, once again, thanks so much for joining me here on episode number 3. Let me know in the comment section below what you want to see talked about here on this channel, on this podcast. And I think eventually I will do a Q&A. I think a Q&A would be awesome. I haven't done that in years. I think it would be pretty good to just dive into what goes on behind the scenes, what happens with Boston Auto Blog and those car reviews. But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.